G'day, and welcome to Bin Night with Tak and no longer Matty. I am Takaya Honda, your now solo host. Earlier, there was a video posted to our social medias of Matty explaining his reasoning and need to step away from the pod. I won't speak for him, so go and watch that. Check it out on our socials for all his reasons. But him leaving the show has obviously made it's been a challenging couple of weeks for myself and I think for Tom too, of then having to try to navigate how we move forward and what we can do and what that looks like. But also just personally, this for me was planned out and in all of how we put it together as something that would be between Matt and myself, and was a way for us to be able to reconnect or connect every week as friends do over at Bin Night, well, as neighbours do. No, they don't. I mean, I've never stopped and chatted to my neighbour over the bins, but the idea being that that's what it was. You know, we were able to chat as neighbours in quotation marks and catch up over the week because we have such busy lives, and trying to find that time is quite difficult. The irony being that Matt doesn't have the time. So yeah, which is, you know, a bummer for me because I've been really enjoying this. I've loved doing the interviews. I love chatting to the guests that we have, and also just the fun banter that Matt and I can have through the podcast. Obviously, we're you know, there's no bad blood, and we'll still continue to have those chats, but let's say a little bit more informally and not being recorded at the same time. So yeah, it's been tough because this has been so good so far, and it's building nicely. I think the interviews and stuff that we've had, the guests we've had have been great. You have been so brilliant, writing comments and engaging and following us along in the journey and enjoying it. You know, it seems from how people have been talking about it. So it wasn't something that we really wanted to step away from, Tom and I, but it was something that for me was supposed to be me and Matt. So it was emotionally a weird sort of time of me trying to figure that out. But today is about how we're going to move forward, and we need your help. So I'll bring Tom in. Peeping Tom. He's still rattling away in the bins as usual.
Hello.
like Oscar the Grouch used to. I guess Sesame Street's gone now, so he definitely was used to, but they moved him out of the bins because it was a whole thing. But yeah, okay, Tom. So we are here. We are trying to figure out what our next steps with the pod are. And you and I are coming from different sides of the equations, let's speak, which is why we've done this, because we want you at home to help us decide, because this pod is as much yours as it is ours, and we want you to be part of reshaping it, reforming it, so that we can also just be back next week. We don't want to have, you know, major downtime and that kind of thing. So the more that you're able to help us, the faster we can get everything together and get it sorted. So yeah, Tom, why don't you start with whatever, saying what you would like to do, and we'll go from there.
Well, yeah, when you first rang me and said that Matt is jumping ship and is going to be no longer part of Bin Night, my first reaction was, well, that's the end, right? Because it's Bin Night with Tak and Matt. You know, it's in.
Because Tom has zero faith in my abilities to do this on my own. Wow, thanks, Tom. I'm kidding.
His face is plastered over everything. It's Tak and Maddie, all the handles.
All
Tak
the
and
handles,
Maddie.
yeah.
We had a few chats, and we both felt that we could move the pod forward with your lovely self fronting it. And I really think it can work, but I guess it's a matter of all the logistics, Takaya. So what the hell are we going to call it? That's the first thing. My gut instinct was to call it Bin Night with Tak. That was my first gut instinct. The brand stays intact. Intact?
Maybe that's the name, Intact. No, that's weird.
It's not that much change. It's still called Bin Night. It's still the brand. It's just Bin Night with tack. There's just no Maddie, which I'm very sad about, by the way. I will obviously miss working with Matt as well. But could it just be Bin Night with tack? You think a bit differently, don't you? Which I do get, but
I do. There's a couple of things for me with Bin Night as a name. One, Bin Night operates as a thing that works with me and Maddie, or two people really, because it's something that is once a week that you can catch up with your neighbor over, like I said before, and it's explainable because we were both neighbors, again in quotation marks, and so that Bin Night event then relayed our relationship from neighbors and echoed here in a non confronting way. Like it was just a nice nod, because this podcast was always going to start with us chatting to other neighbors actors, obviously at the start very much about the ending of the show, and then progressing to just about who they are and what they're moving on to, the next steps and that kind of stuff, and then beyond that, as we started to do in the last few weeks, bringing in people who aren't neighbors related but are in the acting or creative realms, so this podcast could continue to grow, because if we were to just remain a neighbors fan pod, basically, then we're just working towards a slow death, really, because neighbors itself, unless it made a miraculous return, it'd get further and further away. So there'd be no new fans coming. We would just slowly lose the old fans who kind of start to get away and get over hearing about the show that they used to love that's no longer around. So for the longevity of the show, it needed to be able to move away from that, and hopefully in that Bin Night fashion, Matt and I's relationship, you'd fall in love with that as you had on the show, and that would bring you into learning about these other actors and creatives and whatever moving forward. And so that for Bin Night as the name, that's kind of where it all existed and landed from. And so it was explainable as to why the name was Bin Night. Whereas without Maddie, and it's just me, if you're approaching someone who doesn't necessarily know about neighbors and might be able to put the reference together, Bin Night itself, and it's just one single host. Because with two hosts, it's like Bin Night becomes like a fun thing. But with one host, it kind of feels like if I'm asking a guest who I don't really know that well to come on, it's like, oh, so it's a trashy talk? Like the pun kind of carries some negative connotations. And so then because the neighbors thing's sort of removed, then the echoes of what it is about then become not something that we necessarily want to be associated with if we're trying to get really great guests too, because the bigger the guest, the more that their PR and publicists and that kind of stuff are going to look at that kind of thing and go, are we really wanting to be? Do I want my actor's name associated with this thing called Bin Night, and what is that? And Bin Night could mean that we could lose out on some bigger guests as well.
I mean, look, you may be right, but you may be overthinking it as well.
Maybe.
I guess I like it as well because it's the origin of where we began. The origins of it were, you and Matt, and that's where you came from. You came from the bin, Dak. No, that's where you came from. You came from Ramsey Street and
from the gutter.
From the gutter. But the name for me still works because it's like all our references were who's in the bin this week. I know these are reasons why you've cited why maybe some people wouldn't want to come on. But it's you chatting to someone each week, putting the bins out, I guess, is the sort of the sort of metaphorical
overarching theme,
overarching theme. Although now you've said that, because my old day job. Used to be working on UK daytime TV, and I used to work on a program called Loose Women. And you are right. Some guests were put off by the title, especially the American guests, because they thought it was a show about literally loose women, about sex workers, and did not want their clients associated with the show. So if you know type thing, you know.
And also, like, for me, it's an emotional thing too. Like, if each episode, then it's still having to say, "G'day, welcome to Midnight with Tack." It's like, and not saying "and Maddie" or saying Takaya or whatever.
PTSD.
Yeah, well, kind of. Like, it's just a little. It's always going to feel a little bit sad to me.
Okay, right. But then what happens? What happens? We change the name. Great. What about all the old interviews? Where are they going to go?
No, see. No, they can still exist within.
It's
we
messy.
just put it. No, because I can make new. Because if you didn't know, I do all the graphic design stuff.
You do. You do very well.
I can make new. When I said if you don't know, I didn't mean you, Tom. I meant the.
I mean, I know.
You should know.
Yes, I
know. No, to whatever the new design becomes, easily make new thumbnails and that kind of stuff. Of course, if someone clicks and listens to it, it's going to be me and Maddie and whatever. But we just put in the description saying that this was the previous version of the show when Maddie was still part of it.
It's a bit
whatever.
messy. You know me. I like things clean and tidy, and I'm very.
So do I. But regardless, there's going to be a difference because Matt is in those. So,
but then it's just Midnight with Tack, and that was Midnight with Tack and Maddie.
No, I can see that point, but it's 17 episodes, and when we're going to have hundreds, Tom, then it becomes irrelevant 2 years from now.
This is true. And look, we're just riffing ideas here. And then another one of my initial thoughts when we were chatting last week was Tack Talks, which I was always jealous of that name. Like that, we couldn't use it because it's a very good name, Tack.
Which is from my COVID pod. I don't know if you could call it a podcast. There were YouTube live videos. I did 5 a week for 4 weeks, which were the 4 weeks that Neighbours were shut down. So one every Monday to Friday, which I called Tack Talks. But then weirdly now that feels like taking a step back. And then if you're talking about confusing, then people look up Tack Talks, and then there's these 20 other episodes from 2020, and then there's these other episodes which are then Midnight with Tack and Maddie, and then new Tack Talks. I feel like that sort of gets you at home. Here are the names that I thought about. Just Act Natural. That's probably my favorite because it's we're talking here. Just act natural, like just be you. As an actor, you're supposed to act naturally, kind of thing.
I don't hate it.
There's still a pun element to it. There's a perhaps witty pun to it. But also it's not offensive to any kind of publicist, I'd imagine. Then I had dramatic pause, as if in between the drama of their sets, the dramatic life of them, they have a pause moment where they chat to me. After the take, so if they just film something or whatever, then after the take, that's kind of pretty obvious. Break character, which is like they're breaking character in both their acting sense or even in their public persona, because maybe a deeper dive here. Yeah, they were my kind of how many there was? 4 that I came up with, but Just Act Natural's been the one that's sort of stuck in my head the most. But definitely wanting to hear from you, to not Tom, but you at home. What you think? Or maybe you're in a car or on a train. I don't know. You at wherever in your lives. What do you think? So comment or go to our socials and let us know too what you'd like. I imagine that a lot of people are going to want to stick with Midnight, but just for me, I feel like that's it's a harder one for me to stay with.
For sure. But Takaya, if we have an overwhelming response saying they want to keep bin night, how are you going to feel about that?
Screw you guys. No, I don't know. I don't know. I'll look. You've got to listen to the audience, and it's like I said at the start, it's as much your podcast as it is ours, because without someone listening or watching, then it's it's a tree falling in the forest if it doesn't make a sound, kind of thing. Whatever that saying is, I can't remember the whole thing, but you know what I mean. The podcast, a podcast without any form of art, without an audience, is it art? Is a podcast a thing if no one listens to it?
Well, I'll listen. I have to edit it every week. It will get at least one.
At least one.
But look, I think, the most important thing is, though, you and I are dedicated to the podcast. We want to move it forward, and we want to keep on making these for as long as we can, right? So whether it's called Bin Night or whether it's called Dramatic Pause or whatever, or Tack Talks 2, we're gonna keep going. So I think that's the most important thing for now, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we've got a plan for what next week's episode is. So we still have
had an idea.
Oh, okay.
Next week, the guest, you. I'm going to pretend that's my idea. It's your idea.
That was some good acting there, Tom. I was like, oh, he's thought of something else. No, I'll be the guest. We may or may not have a special guest host to interview me, or we might be stuck with Tom. Depends.
Oh no, they want me. They don't want me.
Comment in. That'll get more feedback than anything else. Do we want Tom to do it?
We'll get the pro in. They don't want to see me. They don't want to hear this nasally Brit.
Well, we can just get Ben Jackson to impersonate you and interview me as you.
That's not a bad shout. That's not a bad shout.
He should have his own podcast where he just impersonates you interviewing people. No one will understand except for the bin chickens at home.
Or we get Ben Jackson in to do an impression of Matt. He can do Matt. He can do everyone.
Yeah, I feel like that would get so confused. But yeah, let us know. I mean, either way, I want to the design stuff. I'll probably want to shift up anyway, whether we stick with this name or not. I mean, the social handle's going to be interesting to figure out anyway. If we go with a new name that actually is kind of easier, because we can't keep Tack and Maddie. So then that's we won't make people subscribe to or follow new things. We'll just change the names within it, but it can be actually quite hard to find handles that are available. But I guess
Bin Night's not available. We discovered early on, didn't we? So that'll be an issue.
It could be Bin Night with Tack, but then it's starting to get long too. So anyway, let us know what you think. Hopefully it's not, well, if Matt's gone, there's no point in listening anymore.
Yeah, I mean, we might just get a lot of messages saying, give up,
everyone
guys.
might subscribe and unfollowed.
Give up the dream, guys. Give up the dream. No, I don't foresee that. Do you?
I don't think so. Also, because that's kind of the other stuff, and maybe we progress this on our socials and stuff. But we also want to get feedback on like whether you like the dilemmas. Obviously, the intros and outros are going to change dramatically. I think the intros will become obviously quite short, and it'll just be me introducing the guest, unless people are really liking things like the dilemmas. Do you actually want to hear more stories? I was thinking even people telling us, and we can either relay it or we could potentially have them come on and tell the story themselves of like a particular moment that for Neighbours fans, that Neighbours touched their lives, changed their lives or affected them in some way. That would be something that I'd be like happy in a way to preserve the Neighbours thing. Because those stories become universal, I think, and it becomes about how a show like Neighbours, or something that's seen as purely just entertainment, how that actually can have real world impact. So it can be like a universal thing that people might like to listen to. But anything like that, there's things like that where I'd love to have some audience participation in that sense. So maybe people would like to see that at the start. Who knows? But my instinct is that that'd be at the end. But maybe let us know if you guys hate that as well. Even if you've already comment again, and let us know. Because all of that. This is like the breadth of stuff we're having to figure out now is from the name, our social handles. I've got to redo the website. New logo design, new thumbnail design, potentially finding a new music hook that we'll use. We have to redo our beauty boat ad, redo the trailer or / introductory video that we have explaining to anyone who's new what this is about. So there's a bunch of stuff that now needs to be done. You
just made me feel sick about the amount of work we got to do, to be honest.
So any help that we can get, we'd really appreciate. So if you haven't watched Matt's video yet explaining his reasons for needing to step away, head to our socials and check that out at Takamati currently. And comment. Even if you're a person who never comments on things, but you have been listening to the show or watching the show, then let us know, because help. Please help us. Please help us. Even if we change the name, I think we should do like a limited release of some Bin Night merch, just because there were some cool ideas. And then you can be an OG bin chicken. And who knows? Maybe even if it's just Stack Naturally, our audience will still be bin chickens, and people are like, "Why are the audience bin chickens?" And that becomes a funny story, because bin chickens is a funny thing. But maybe everyone really hates being called a bin chicken. I don't know.
I think I like it.
Yeah,
I think I like it.
I think so. It's an endearing. It's a white ibis. It's a native Australian bird that's evolved an amazing beak for eating, and it just happens that its evolutionary trait is means it's really good at picking food out of a bin. But better than a landfill.
This is true. We don't have them in the UK. Make it there.
It's an Australian bird. Well, I guess it's probably regional. I imagine it can fly
lots in Sydney.
Distance.
When I went to Sydney, there was a lot there. I don't see many in Melbourne. Yeah, lots in Sydney.
There is not as many. I think it's like they're a bit warmer climates bird. But all right. So do you have one of the last, perhaps the last, depending what happens next week, joke for us, Tom?
I can't believe you've landed that on me. You?
Well, you've never done one, right? So you've got to at least get one in there.
Oh, shit.
Actually, before you do that,
it's really not worth the wait.
I would like to say, regardless of what happens next, maybe everyone's going to unsubscribe or unfollow. And if you haven't subscribed and you want to keep listening, do. Because for the longevity of the show, it still needs to grow. Ultimately it's really costing us the moment to be making it. And a very free thing that you can do is literally just click a button, beyond hopefully also commenting and stuff. But I would like to say a big thank you up until now for everyone who has subscribed, who has followed, who has commented, who has messaged and reached out. I try to get back to as many as I can. I've been there pretty much at every premiere except the one where, why couldn't I be there? I can't remember. I was literally somewhere that made it impossible for me to be commenting on the show. And
Locked out, maybe.
oh, maybe yeah, I did get locked out that time, and that made things difficult. But no, uh, I have endeavored to be as available as possible to everyone out there, and read your comments, the live comments, all that kind of stuff. But I want to say thank you all for everything up until now. It's so appreciated. We've definitely felt the love. That's not the reason that Matt left. Definitely go check out the thing. It wasn't because of you or me or Tom. But thank you. It means a lot. And hopefully we can keep continuing on and building this thing, growing the community, because I'm all about growing it as a community. Yeah, so thank you. Now, Tom, your joke.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Not Matt.
Oh, oh, I thought you'd Googled something awful before. I mean,
see you next bin night.
See you next bin night. Not Matt. Brutal.